Hello and welcome to the Cheltenham Exchange preview for the 2023 Cheltenham Festival. We actually posted our first video looking at the festival back on the 18th of October, so it's been a long time in the making. Unfortunately, Matty and OJ are unavailable this evening, but from the Cheltenham Exchange team, I am joined by John the Hammer and Ian, whose nicknames are Rain Man, Boss Man, and Con Man.
Con Man, yeah, got called Con Man the other day, didn't I?
From some and we've also got two fantastic guests that have agreed to join us to preview all the races on Tuesday, and they're going to give us all the winners too.
We're going to try our best anyway.
We have actually stolen both of them from the Understarters Orders channel as well, so shout out to everyone there. And our guests are, of course, Niamh Townsend and Lauren Fahy. How are you both?
Very well, very well.
Excited to get stuck into the first day's racing?
Excited.
Yes.
Same. Ian, I believe you have some breaking news for me.
I do, and it's for Lauren. So, Lauren, I don't know, obviously, we've known you for about a year or so now, so we've got to know you and we love you. And the Understarters Orders guys as well, love you as well. But it comes a time and a place where you've got to leave us behind, go up in the world. So I'd like to congratulate you because Race Day TV have awarded you the Orange Mic. So next week you'll be doing the Orange Mic. Congratulations.
Amazing. Thank you so much. What an honour and a privilege. Thank you.
You join all the greats.
Very good.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so let's get stuck into the first race then on Tuesday, which is, of course, the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come straight to you, Lauren. What are your thoughts on the Supreme?
Well, the Supreme is always really exciting, isn't it? Because it's that anticipation that is built up throughout, the rest of the year, and everything kind of boils down to Cheltenham these days, doesn't it? But it's there's a lot of nervousness and excitement, and it all comes down to that roar at the start of the Supreme. And actually, more recently, if we can start the race properly rather than having a false start, which seems a real theme of the last couple of festivals, but fingers crossed that won't be the case this year. So I guess there may still be some come out of this, but those probably aren't the ones that I'm going to be mentioning or talking through. I guess what you're after would be my winning selection, and
yes, please.
Generally in a Supreme, by this time of year, probably by February, just post the Dublin Racing Festival, you've probably got most people like to do the kind of fourfold for the Tuesday, don't they? The Supreme, the Arkle, the Champion Hurdle, and the Mares. And, lots of us have been on the Annie Powers of previous years, and we all thought, we're all spending our money, and then it goes at the last. So you definitely need a good one to kick you off in the Supreme. And I think it might be boring, although actually maybe it's not, because loads of people, he seems to not be in favour for loads of people. I think I just have to stick with Fahy Niamh, not only because of his relatives, but I think apart from the last day at the Dublin Racing Festival, nobody could argue that he's done anything wrong. You can argue that he might not have the best horses behind him, but it's a case of you can only beat what is in front of you. And him and High Definition absolutely cut each other's throats at the Dublin Racing Festival, and that's undeniable. And the way that Willie spoke to and about Paul's ride and his decisions in that race, I think there is no chance that that's going to happen again. And I really do believe in him, in that he is the best horse in this race. I know Marine Nationale looks really, really fantastic and is also just as ground versatile as I think Fahy Niamh will be. Of course, Il Était Temps won at the Dublin Racing Festival, but and no disrespect at all, but it feels like the race sort of fell into his lap. I do think it was a really good ride by Danny, but I don't think, we're not going to have a rerun of that. And the way that Facile Vega won at the festival last year, those kind of memories I can't get those out of my mind, and I'm most certainly team Facile Vega. He is the one for me. I just can't divert myself from that.
Okay. And Johnny, is that similar thinking to yourself?
Yeah, I'm with Lauren all the way there. I mean, there's been a lot of knockers of him since that defeat, but I can forgive a horse one bad run at least anyway. We do it all the time with other horses during the season, so why not him? Obviously, things went wrong for him that day, and they had excuses, reasons, or whatever you want to call them after the race. But since then, I mean, he drifted right out, and then the yard said a couple of things, and he's been steamed back into favourite again. So there's obviously something there. The yard must be very bullish on him, mustn't they? The way he's been.
Well, I think hasn't Willie been? And I think this was before the Dublin Racing Festival, but I think Willie thinks that he could be right up there with some of the best that he's ever had, potential-wise. Obviously he's only a novice still, but Willie's not just going to say that about any old thing, and he wouldn't say that lightly either. I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so that sort of like pushed me back in his camp, really. Like say, Marine Nationale looks decent, but I do question the form a little bit on that, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what he's beaten yet. He's beaten, was it Champ Kylie, who was probably running distance too short. Irish Point's come out and done nothing really since. And also the time off the track would worry me about him. I mean, they've obviously locked him away for this, but I would have preferred a run into him before next week. So I've sort of put a tentative line through him.
I think there is a stat somewhere that says that you need to have, or more often than not, you need to have had a run since January to be winning the Supreme. And however, I don't know how many actually try to run in the Supreme without having had a run. Do you know what I mean? So the pool size might be quite small, but I just noticed that stat flying around.
I'm just trying to look for it now.
but while Ian's looking for that, of the others, I quite like, for each way purposes, the chance of Chasing Fire from Ollie Murphy. I mentioned, I put him up, didn't I, in one of the videos. I think he is the better of the two, and that's what the yard seem to be saying. But I know, Alex, you're fond on Strong Leader each way, but I think Aidan's up on Chasing Fire, so like that's like a bit of a positive, I think. And Ollie Murphy's had a couple of placed horses a few years ago, hasn't he, with Itchy Feet and Matty's old favourite Thomas Darby. So, yeah, for win purposes, Facile, and then each way shout would be Chasing Fire for me in this.
Okay. And those of you that have seen the channel before, Matty actually put up Il Était Temps, who's price of about 6 to 1-ish in this race. He put it up Ante-Post. I think it was about 16, 18 to 1 when he put it up. So he's got a bit of value there. And he is still keen on the horse. He has told us today. I probably will be siding with Facile Vega as well. I've looked at the race a few times and I can't really work out anything else I think can win. I mean, I'd be happy to look at Strong Leader at a price each way. Maybe try and find someone that's going to do 4 places on the day, hopefully. But I think Facile Vega is going to win.
I think the thing that you have to look for in a race like this is, especially because it's the first race of the festival, you guarantee a strong pace. Whoever it comes from, there will be a strong pace on. And it's who can travel at that pace and sustain it and still go up the hill. There are all of those aspects to consider. And I just think the Vega is quite solid. I think he definitely likes a strong pace to come off, although Il Était Temps definitely does too. But yeah, there are all those things to consider, that he's just the one that you feel like you have to go with.
And Niamh, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that there's a lot of horses still in here for Willie Mullins, and it's that typical Cheltenham Willie Mullins bingo, isn't it? Because they're now saying Gaelic Warrior could come to the Supreme, and you'd have to think he wouldn't run all of Gaelic Warrior, Il Était Temps, and Facile Vega in the same race. So my instinct was for Il Était Temps in this race, but I wouldn't be surprised if they now go Ballymore with him. Like, I don't see how he would run all 3 of those horses in that same race. So might have to hold my bets on that one. But I think albeit the race did fall apart last year, he's a second season hurdler. He has some good form as a juvenile. I can't move on from that Facile Vega run last time out. And I know that we can forgive horses bad runs, and he did have his excuses, but why was it so bad? Like, why was it too bad to be true? And, I can't remember where it was, but someone the other day was saying that they didn't think they actually went that quick, which it did look like they did go very quick.
I was there. They went quick.
They went quick.
They did. Yeah. I've also heard people say the same thing, and people that were there have said the same thing. But they tanked. They really did.
Yeah. Did it really to comparison? Then he on the road to Cheltenham, I think it was. I can't remember what race he put it against.
Yeah,
I think it was very quick, for what I understand.
I just think for me, Ante-Post, he's a 5-year-old. Facile Vega's 6. I think there's probably more to come from. There's more to come from both of them, no doubt. But I would be siding with Ante-Post based on the fact that he's looked pretty solid this season. So has Facile Vega, but I'm not as forgiving with that last run. And I think I saw somewhere that he was lame afterwards, but there's been a lot of conflicting things. Like, he just stopped so quickly. I'm going with Ante-Post. I think he's better value personally. The other one that I thought was interesting, but with all this rain around this weekend, it might not be ideal, was Tamaras. Now, after the Tolworth, I was not a believer. I thought this horse shouldn't be going for Cheltenham, because he's very he looked very green, and he looked like he needs another couple of years just to grow into himself. But that form has stood up generally really well. I think the horse that finished second of Evan Williams I think he's a really nice horse. Obviously, Nemean Lion came out and won the other day. I think he's probably going to be the one going forward who will turn out to possibly be the best horse from this race. But that Tolworth, it's always a really good pointer to the Supreme. And so I do think he's available about 11-1, I think, in places. That is probably a little bit too big a price for what he's done so far. He's unbeaten over hurdles. That I wouldn't want to see too much rain over the weekend, but I do think he's an interesting alternative to the Irish contingent.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ian, round it all up for us for the Supreme.
I haven't got much to add, to be honest, but I found give a plug to Road to Cheltenham. So the stats we were just talking about, 21 of the last 22 Supreme Novice Hurdle winners have run at least once in 99 days before Cheltenham. So it's negative for Marine Nationale, who last appeared at the start of December. So that's the stat. But I haven't got much to add. The two that I liked, I think, have been mentioned. So I noticed was one of your favourites, Alex, Incanto Bruno in the bumper. Obviously, Strong Leader was second in that bumper at Cheltenham in October, and of course has won his next 3 hurdle races. I know they were Class 3 or Class 4, but with this sort of year, could we have another Le Bake on our hands and a big price Supreme winner? 33-1, I think, is a nice price. It might be pocket talk for me, but I still like Facile Vega. I'm willing to forgive his last run. He did come out lame. He will like the softer ground as it is, and I think we'll do some more rain next week, which won't suit Marine Nationale. So for me, Facile Vega and Strong Leader each way.
Okay, thank you very much. So a few votes for Facile Vega then. Johnny, myself, Lauren, Ian, all on Facile Vega, and then Niamh and Matty both liking Ante-Post. Okay, we'll move on to the second race then, which is the Arkle. Top of the betting, we have obviously John Bon and El Fabiolo. Ian, do you think this is simply a match between the two of them? How do you see this race going?
No, most definitely. I can't see much coming between. I think it's going to be a small field again, like it normally is for the Arkle. I think you can't look past the two, John Bon and El Fabiolo. I'm going to side with John Bon. So he's won his all his last 3 chase starts. I think he's won at Warwick twice and Sandown, Booth Hill and Honor. Oh, I can't even pronounce the name. Dujonic, I think that's how you pronounce it. Have won after he's run at Sandown, and obviously the race that is at Warwick where he faced Kaliko, which wasn't his best. Let's just say that. And it made me panic after a little while, and I think Kaliko and tried to give him a run for his money. Let's just say that. And of course, he's come out and won since at Doncaster. I did look at El Fabiole because there's a lot of people that are saying that the talk about his jumping has been a bit sketchy. So I looked at a couple of his last 2 races at Fairyhouse, and I counted about 3. So it looks more hesitant than anything. Not jumps bad. It looks a bit hesitant. I think it was 3 fences at Fairyhouse, which I saw, which I made a note of, and obviously the Dublin Irish Arkle at the racing festival jumped so much better, but he did make a bit of a Horlicks at the 4th last. But it's hard because obviously the best form in the race at the minute is El Fabiole's Irish Arkle when he beat Dysart Dynamo and Appreciate It. So it's really hard, and it's going to be so close to getting that their race at Aintree. But I'm going to side with John Bond just to win for me.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm in the John Bond camp too, Ian, so we'll be cheering him home together, hopefully. Niamh, what are your thoughts?
I'm also with John Bon. I think the way that Nicky Henderson will have prepped him for this, he won't have been 100% fit at Warwick, because that obviously the Kingmaker isn't the season's target, the Arkle is. So he will have lacked a little bit more improvement in him. I think actually the Warwick race, a lot of people have been, giving it a bit of a hard time, but I think it's exactly what this horse needed, because Harry Skelton, he's caught him sleeping, really. He was kind of just switched off down the back straight. And what he's done is he's got him jumping under pressure, actually, and having to fight for it and having to, really be very clever. I think when you compare him to El Fabiolo, it's all going to come down to the jumping in this race. I do think, like Ian mentioned, El Fabiolo, he can be quite hesitant as his fences. But also, more importantly, Arkle winners generally have had 3 runs or more over fences in a season. El Fabiolo's only had 2. So, I'm not saying he can't win, but I'm just saying that's got to be a disadvantage when John Bon is so accurate and so good at his jumping. Touch wood, I don't want to jinx him there. But I think John Bon should win this. I think he should, stamp that Aintree form as being reliable. And now that, we've seen him jump cleanly and under pressure, and the fact he will strip fitter for the Warwick run, I think he's pretty solid personally.
Okay, thank you very much. And Johnny, same thoughts for yourself?
Yeah, exactly the same as the guys, really. I mean, I put him up as one of my 5 to follow, didn't I, in the first video of the season. I'm not going to desert him, at this stage now. Obviously, Dysart and El Fabiolo both have claims in this race, but more so El Fabiolo. I mean, he did look very good on his last effort, but I do think John Bon probably still does have the edge in the jumping department. I just think he is a bit slicker, and I think El Fabiolo is probably one of these horses that he'll jump really well for most of the round, but he could throw in a stinker at one of the fences, and if you do that here, that's when he'll come tumbling down. That's how I think. That's how I'm sort of reading it. Dysart, I think, probably just go off like a scalded cat, won't he, and see if he can make all. But I don't think he's going to be able to last out, to be honest, especially if the ground is on the soft side. He's going to start sort of tying up, I reckon, before he gets to the bottom of the hill. So I'm sticking to John Bon, but I wouldn't be surprised that if they're sort of neck and neck jumping the last, then we could have a great finish. But last time they had a good finish together, John Bon stuck his neck out and beaten him. So, hopefully he can do it again. He does seem to find under pressure. I do like that about him as well.
And Lauren, are you going to make it a full house for John Bon?
It feels like it's way too close of a matchup to give 5 out of 5 to John Bon. I'm gonna go for El Fabiolo. But it is so hard. If you're putting these in multiples, like the fourfold that we sort of mentioned for the Tuesday, like you've sort of got to back them both, really, because we're never going to be able to work up to this point. Really, we're never going to be able to work out who the rightful winner should be. It will all just be whoever is the best on the day, because I do think they are really close in form and ability. You've mentioned that John Bon's kind of got slicker jumping, but is that because he's been able to have that because he's been in a 2-horse race, a 4-horse race, and a 3-horse race, whereas El Fabiolo has run at the Dublin Racing Festival, which is, the absolute highest quality of racing that you can wish for, and really put a fantastic horse like Banbridge to shame. Okay, Banbridge is going to go up and trip, which I think is the best thing for him, but I appreciate it perhaps didn't run his race, and I think he obviously goes up in trip too, but he's beaten some really, really good horses there, and he's done it really convincingly. So form wise, that feels like better form going into this race, really, rather than the 2, the 3, the 4-horse races that John Bon has won. I also know that Daryl Jacob thinks that he's the best horse, the best double green horse that he's ever sat on, which is a really, really big claim. When you think of all of the fantastic horses that they've had over the years, and okay, this one's only a novice, and yes, he might make a few mistakes at his jumps, but he hasn't made a significant enough mistake yet for it to have affected him. And maybe John Bon under pressure might not jump so well. It's sort of something that we don't know. So for that purpose, I'm going to go with El Fabiolo to make it 2 on the board for Ireland in the Prestbury Cup.
Do you think Daryl will be a bit gutted that he's not going to be on El Fabiolo in the Arkle?
Yeah, undoubtedly. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Although, is that a definite? Because he's the retained rider over here for them, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think in Ireland, I think for Willie, I don't think he is. I think Townsend has got the choice, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Niamh, you might know a little bit more about how that actually happens at the stable, but because obviously if you're retained by the owner, surely that counts for higher than being retained by the star. I don't know.
I think as well, final choice will come down to I don't want to say common sense, but you'd think if Daryl has ridden the horse before and won on the horse before, but then did Paul ride him in Aintree last year? Because it'd probably be whoever rode him in Aintree will.
Yeah, he did.
Ride him. So I'd imagine that Paul Townsend would probably be on him, but I don't know because I'm not Willie Mullins or either of the double green guys.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out over the coming days who's going to ride who. I mean, it's not like they'll be short of horses to ride, will they? So
no.
Okay, so we've had 4 votes then for John Bon, and then Lauren likes El Fabiolo. Matty also likes El Fabiolo as well. So I guess technically that's 2 votes for him. So.
What a Judas. He's turned on John Bon.
Oh, I know.
Can't believe it.
We'll move then on to what is one of my favourite races of the week. It's the Ultima. I love this race. And it's currently headed at the top of the market by Co-Rat Rambler, who won it last year. Johnny, is he going to win again? I really hope he does.
No, I think he's got a very good chance, to be fair. And I probably will cover him at some point. I'll probably end up backing about 4 in this because I think you need to cover, maybe a couple of the shorter ones and then a couple of the longer price ones as well. But for the purpose of this, the 2 that I'm going to put up is first, well, they're both sort of, you'll know them very well, Alex, anyway. 2 of my old friends. Happy Go Lucky first. Now, I'm not even convinced he's going to win this race, but he will definitely place. I reckon any place Ackers you're doing on day 1, happy-go-lucky is guaranteed, I think, to place in this.
It's a good place to start, isn't it, Johnny, when you put up a horse and say, I don't think he's going to win.
I don't know, he'll need to find a little bit more, won't he, to win? I mean, he's won off 149 in the past. He's on 152 at the moment. So he will need to eke out a little bit more improvement. But he is actually, if you look through his form, he's very lightly raced. He's not had that many chase runs. Obviously, he goes well at the track. He's raced in this, is it the last 2 years he's been in it now? He was definitely in it 2 years ago. That was when he was second. I mean, he could go and win. I mean, horses have come back, haven't they, from not winning this and then winning the next year. So he's got a really good chance. He's got a good each way solid chance, I think. My second one, now I was scouring through, and at the bottom there I saw my old friend Top Veal Ben, who I absolutely love. I followed this horse since he was like a baby. He's like one of my favourites.
I remember the year you told me he was going to win the Supreme.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was about 6 years ago now, wasn't it? Yeah. But if you look at his form again, it's really, really solid. He went over to the Dublin Racing Festival, didn't he? And came.
I thought he was going to win that the way he was finishing.
Well. He ran an absolute blinder, and he finished third behind the Goffer in the end, didn't he? But ran a blinding race. If you look back again through his form, he won the Roland Merrick a few years ago, when he was rated 154, I think, at the time. He's now down to 140. We know he's a front runner. He jumps pretty well. He'll be out there at the front. And he might be one of these, a bit like Vintage Clouds a couple of years ago, where he's just there and he's hard to catch. You know, he might be hard to peg back. So I think he's got a really good chance. And I think he's 11 now, but he'll be carrying a feather. So yeah, he's my second choice.
Excellent. Couple of old favourites for you.
Couple of old favourites. Got to stick with it.
And how do you see it, Niamh? Who's the winner of this race?
I'm siding with Fast or Slow. I'm hoping he's plenty fast on Tuesday. He's just got a really interesting profile, I think, coming into this race. His 2 runs this season have both been in Grade 1s. He's behind Galopin des Champs, and then he had another run, I think, at the Dublin Racing Festival. But I just think that's, coming into Cheltenham, he's entered in a handicap and off a workable mark as well after just the 2 runs this season, both in Grade 1 company, to get a mark, essentially, to get his handicap mark. He draws an awful lot of interest. He's yet to run over 3 miles. Of course, he finished second in last year's Coral Cup. And I think he'll love the trip. And my only concern might be that the Irish don't typically have a good record in this race. But having said that, we know the trainer loves Cheltenham. We know he loves getting them ready for this meeting. And I do think this has been the plan for a while with this horse. And I do think that off 11 stone 9, he's got to have a great chance, Fast or Slow.
Okay, sounds like a confident one. And Ian, how about you? Who wins this race?
I'll try and be as quick as I can.
Pull up a chair.
Oh, God. So I've potentially got 3.
Oh, wow. Ian, just one.
I'll be quick. So one of them, obviously, I'm a bit dubious about, obviously, because what John told me the other day about Lord Accord, that I really liked, but potentially he may not go. So, and he's got quite some nice form. So I might bear with me. I'm going to read on my phone. I know he's won at Cheltenham at the beginning of October. Obviously beats a horse like the Wolf and Captain Catissock. There's the Coral Gold Cup at Newbury in November. There was some few horses. I know he finished 9th, but there's a few horses in there like Remastered. I think and Fanny and Destraval, Red Happy all come out of one since, and that kind of is a bit of form as well. And then you've got obviously
stat for you, Ian, to interrupt. 4 of the last 16 winners had run in the previous year's Coral Gold Cup.
Oh, okay.
I think this is a key race.
On the Rambler.
Yeah,
it is.
And he was 6th. I know a well beaten 6th, but in the Cleve Hurdle, obviously you had Gold Treat that come out and won. Obviously the French horse and Paisley Park. So that's not too bad. Another one I liked that finished 3rd in this race last year, but Alex has put me off, which is Oscar Elite.
Don't be put off, Oscar.
No, because he had a bleed.
Oh
you
yeah,
said
yeah.
about he had a bleed. So I don't know if it was the race before he was third last year or after, but he's kind of got bits and pieces again. And I think he won out a Class 1. I know it was only a 3-runner race, but I think he
did
could
it very
run a
well.
good race.
And he's been
And obviously-
supplemented into the Browns.
No, I don't think he has. Has he?
Was it not him?
No, I thought it was adamantly chosen.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
It
ignore me.
was, yeah.
And the other one, obviously, we've mentioned is Korak Rambler. I think he could run a great race again after winning this race last year. So they're my 3 I'm potentially looking at.
Yeah, Ian, going just on Lord of Court, I didn't say that he wasn't going. He was low down in the pecking order. I think he's 26 at the minute, isn't he? But how many running this? Is it 22?
24, I think.
24?
Yeah.
So you might get a couple dropouts anyway, but yeah, that's what
I hope so. He's got 10-10 at the minute. I think 137. But yeah, fingers crossed, because he might be my main play in the race.
And how about you, Lauren? Who's winning this race?
So I'm going to give you some stats first, because I do think the stats are important for the Ultima. So this is just kind of reading from, well, this is on the winners enclosure, but lots of the stats websites will give you the changing of the guard. A bit premature, but there we go.
I forgot Lauren.
Not start that one now. So because we've got quite a big field at this stage, and it's, we're not confirmed, I think a nice way to start to whittle it down is to look at the age of the winner. That 12 of the last 16 winners were 7, 8, or 10. 2021 winner Vintage Clouds obviously went against that because he was 11, but he was a big old been there, done that, been around this course so many times, know what I'm doing kind of horse. 13 of the last 16 winners placed top 5 in their prep run for the Ultima, which feels like a fairly obvious, you need to be getting there or thereabouts in your preparation for the Cheltenham Festival, don't you? And what was the other one that I wanted to mention? 13, no, not that one. 15 of the last 16 winners had placed in a race around Cheltenham before. And so the one that I was selecting before I looked at that last stat was Monbeg Genius. And I perhaps a little bit concerned that his form is, well, he's got a lot of ones to his name, but to be fair, as has Into Overdrive. But I think, well, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here, actually. So I'm a real big fan of Monbeg Stables, who are based in Ireland, the Doyle brothers, and they bring in, they buy yearlings, they break them in, they get them to win or place in a point-to-point, and then they go on and sell them. So they get lots of horses who are by Walk in the Park, for example. And like the sales that happens on the Tattersall sales that happens on the Thursday of the Cheltenham Festival, they're guaranteed to be bringing some there from the point-to-point field. And they're just so good at handling horses, and especially 3-mile chasers. Now, Monbeg Genius actually was second in his point-to-point. And there were actually only 2 finishes in that race. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 pulled up. Pull Again Green was in that race. Yeah, so it was soft to heavy, but the conditions were obviously quite difficult. But even that alone, he's going to be a proper 3-mile chaser if you're finishing a point-to-point like that. And the way that he's gone through his races all season, I've been really, really impressed by. And I just think he's rock solid. The only bit that doesn't quite fit into the stats is that he hasn't run around Cheltenham before, but it doesn't worry me too much. He heads to Chepstow a lot, which is left-handed, galloping, undulating. So whilst it's not the same course, there are similarities with Chepstow and Cheltenham, I guess. And he's won all 3 times he's been there. I think you can get around 14-1 on him. I think that's way too big for a horse of seemingly his quality. And he fits the kind of rating and age brackets as well. And he's trained by John Joe, who is Irish but based here. So that's a big tip for me.
I went to a preview night on Wednesday up in Warrington, and one of the panel put him up. Actually, he said whichever race he goes in, back him each way. So
that's the other thing. He's also in one on the. Is it on Thursday?
Is it Thursday? I think. Yeah. Is it the Kinmure?
Kinmure, yeah.
Probably the Kinmure, isn't it?
And he's got an entry in the Midlands Grand National as well.
Okay.
He said even back him in that if that's what he ends up in. He was like really keen on it.
Yeah, I think he's great. Yeah, so he's. Whilst I do agree that you could have, plenty of selections in this, I think as soon as I see a Monbeg, he's going in the best slip.
Excellent. Thank you very much. My selection obviously was Cora Ambler as well, so I'm sticking with the Rambler. Matty was keen on a horse called Faranet, Faranet, not sure how that's pronounced.
Faranet.
Ran at Cheltenham earlier this year. I think it was 5th on New Year's Day, and actually won at Chepstow before that. So another horse that's had good form around Chepstow, which is quite a good trial track for here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that rounds up the Ultima. Let's move on to the feature race. Technically the feature race of day one. I don't think it's necessarily going to be the best race this year, but it's still going to be one that's great, really. We are, of course, onto the Champion Hurdle. Very short price favourite, Constitution Hill. Niamh, is he going to win?
Yeah, just my advice, just sit back, relax and enjoy just watching this horse in action because, I'm not one to jump on a hype train a lot, but I am on board, completely. He reminds me, I was thinking about this earlier, and this might sound a bit ridiculous, but he reminds me a little bit in the way that he races. He reminds me a bit of Sprinter Sacra. Now, 2 totally different horses, but it's just that way that a horse can travel so well and effortlessly put distance between himself and the field. And I just think you only need to look at what he's done to Epatante twice this season, and then what she went on to do at Doncaster. So clearly showing she's feeling well. It's just, I still don't think that we've seen the best of him. I think he's a young horse. There's more to come. He could win as many champion hurdles as he wants to. Now, Lauren, I'm sure will mention this, but it's such a shame that Honeysuckle is not in this race because, she's the reigning champion. She should be here, but it is what it is. And I just think State Man, he's a really good horse. He wouldn't, bad horses are not unbeaten. But I just think Constitution Hill, he just looks a class above, which when you're looking at grade 1 hurdlers, it doesn't happen often that you can say a horse is just way better than anything else we've seen this season. But he is.
And Ian, is that the same thoughts as you? He just wins?
Yeah, it's not really much money to be made in this race for betting purposes. You could probably go down there.
There's lots to be lost if he doesn't win.
Yeah, exactly.
True. Very true.
Con Hill and State Man will probably be first, second. So do the forecast? It probably won't pay that much. But yeah, it's like literally what Niamh said. Just sit back and watch. Not much else to add, Alex. To be honest, it's you might even look for third place. You might look at Vauban, or I like to move it after his good win the other week. But I think Constitution Hill should win easy, and to echo, Honeysuckle should be here. Really, she should be defending her crown, win or lose. So we can give her a cheer, and because she deserves it. She's the reigning champion. I don't know. But yeah, Constitution Hill win.
Johnny, are you going to make it 3 out of 3?
Yeah, there's not a lot to say here. I mean, I am a little bit wary of State Man, to be fair, because I think he's a really good horse and I think he will run a good race. But the chances are that Constitution Hill will just bolt up, won't he? But, I think some people have written him off totally, State Man, but he is a really good horse. And in another year, he'd be favourite, wouldn't he? And probably everyone's selection. So, I'm not bothered about these sort of each way angle in it, really. I mean, it's one of them where State Man could go with Constitution Hill and totally drop away and end up out the 3. That could happen if he's racing properly against
Could
him.
also happen in the reverse, guys.
Well,
let's not forget this.
Yeah.
Oh, it could definitely, but we'll see how it goes. But it's definitely one just to enjoy. If you're not on early in this, then there's no point chasing now, is there, with the top 2, really?
No. Matty and I are on the same as well. So technically that's 5 out of 5. Lauren, is this going to be a whitewash? 6 from 6?
No. I can't. I will not take anything away from him. He's obviously out. What he's done so far is brilliant, and that can't be denied. And I've seen him in the flesh a number of times, and you're always kind of left thinking, yeah, that was impressive. But I think State Man is underlooked, is severely underlooked, and I think Willie will be going to this race thinking that he does have a live chance. I think lots of people have written him off, and I think that's really unfair. So maybe I'm siding with him from the underdog perspective, but it's a horse race and anything can happen. And I'm more than happy to be proved wrong. And I'm more, if Constitution Hill goes and wins by however many lengths he wants to, then that's great. But I don't think it's as guaranteed as the world and his wife seem to think it is. State Man is an exceptional horse and he's improving. And yes, Constitution Hill is probably improving as well. But he hasn't raced against the quality of horse that State Man has. I don't think his experience on the track can be compared to what State Man has. And yeah, he's beating Epatante 12 lengths and 17 lengths, but let's not forget that Epatante comes from the same stable and stables can give instructions. And yes, I'm not saying that there's any collusion going on. I'm sure they will have tried as hard as they can with Epatante and he's still beaten her fair and square. But the way that State Man won the Irish Champion Hurdle, I think is perhaps a little bit underappreciated as well. Like to go and win a championship race like that from the front, set your own fractions and not see anybody else is really, really impressive. And yeah, I think he's really, really good. I think you needed to be in the box seat in that race. And this isn't just heart talking. I would like to think that if Honeysuckle was leading from the front in that race, she might have done the same thing that he did, because I don't think she's lost that much ability. And the disappointing thing is that she's a 2-miler. She's a champion hurdler, and she absolutely should be in this race. There's no two ways about that. I think it would be better for her to finish second, or if you line up in this race, you've got a chance to win it. Because anybody technically who lines up in this race has a chance to win it, because anything can happen. It's a horse race. Not So Sleepy is in this. He's done a few strange things in his past before and made the result of the race a little bit unexpected. So, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he gets brought. We don't want that to happen, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility that something might happen to Constitution Hill, because I don't think it's going to be the same sort of race that he's been in previously. So I'm going to go with State Man for all those reasons.
Ooh. Well, if something happens and I don't know, both jockeys unseat and it ends up with Vauban winning the race, then
they're going to be devastated.
Won't do a pin drop.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, true. That as well.
Okay, then. Moving on to the 5th race, which I think is probably going to be the best race of the day one. It looks like it's going to be an absolute cracker. And sorry to come straight back to you, Lauren, but as Honeysuckle's #1 fan, and also with a number of your favourites as well in this race, how do you see this one going?
I'm dreading it. I really am. It's like the champion. So the champion hurdle is probably when people say to you as a horse racing fan, and they might not necessarily be, oh, well, what's your favourite race? Like the champion hurdle is my favourite race. And I sort of feel like I can't have the same level of excitement for it this year because because I'm so devastated that Honeysuckle isn't going to defend her crown. I mean, I flip flop between believing that Marie's Rock is going to run here, and then there's lots of talk about her for the stayers, and then she's going back here, and now the weather's changed, and where's she actually going to go? But I think if she turns up here, she wins. However, if her and Honeysuckle are jumping the last together, there is no doubt that I will obviously be cheering for Honeysuckle. But it's all, then it becomes a head over heart, and it's really, when she is your favourite horse and, you know, she has the record that she has, it's so difficult to separate that. But, you know, for the sake of making a selection that anybody might be willing to listen to, I really do think Marie's Rock is solid in what is actually a very, very, very good mare's hurdle. And the fact that it is such a good mare's hurdle is so great for the mare's program. You know, it gets a lot of crabbing, and or should it really exist? And, you know, Marie's Rock should be in the stayers and Honeysuckle should be in the champion hurdle, and all the rest of them should filter into other races because maybe the program shouldn't exist. But the fact that this is such a good race, and possibly one of the best races, if not the best race of the meeting this year, is proof that it is absolutely right that the mare's program exists. I also partly think that maybe plays on Kenny Alexander's mind, because ultimately it's his decision as to where Honeysuckle goes. And he's always been a real huge supporter of the mare's program. He mainly, well, at one point he only bought mares. I think he might have a few geldings now, but there's kind of that aspect to it as well. So don't get me wrong, I will absolutely be cheering for Honeysuckle, and she absolutely isn't without her chance. I just think she's a better speed horse than she is a stayer, and as this is the in between, you're going to need a good stayer to win it, and Marie's Rock is that. So she would be my selection for this race.
It's just interesting what you said about some of the people saying that Honeysuckle should be in the champion hurdle, etc., and this race shouldn't exist. A lot of those same people are saying that Marie's Rock shouldn't be in the stairs and she should be in this as well. So
Yeah,
you can't have it both ways. You can't say this race shouldn't exist and then get angry when a horse is not going to run in this and he's going to run in the stairs. So
yeah,
it's a bit contradictory, really. It just winds me up.
Mm.
Ian, we've got a bit of a rare case of Henderson bingo here with
I know.
Epperton and Marie's Rock possibly going to different races. As our resident Hendo expert, how do you think this one's going to shake out?
Well, I've had to type up 2 sets of notes, obviously, because of still be boring and talk about weather again. So it looks like with the ground being
Can I guess
soft,
what your selection's going to be?
what soft grey.
Basically, whatever Henderson horse runs.
Yeah. So I think if the softer the ground, the more chance that Marie's Rock will come here. Obviously, if it gets good to soft or good, I think she'll go to the stayers hurdle. But I think the other way around. I think Epperton will stay here, and I'm thinking, why would I know all this? Just Mr. Henderson must have had a heavy night and forgot to supplement Epperton for this race.
Yeah,
so
a bit too much cognac then.
Yeah, why would he pay all that money to supplement her to then potentially run her in the champion hurdle? It just defeats the object. But yeah, I'm with Lauren, which I can't believe. I thought she'd go with Honeysuckle, but yeah, I'll go with Marie's Rock. I just thought she was very good at a run at Cheltenham on New Year's Day. I think Dashel Drash has come out, who was second, has run really well against Gold Tweet, was second. Brewing Up a Storm has come out and won a Class 1 at Fontwell at the end of February. The one I took out of it with that race at Cheltenham was I Like to Move It. I know we've discussed before, potentially probably running at the wrong trip. Went back down to 2 mile at Wincanton and is now basically considered to be a threat for the places. So it's quite good form for Marie's Rock. And you look at Epperton, I know she's been behind Constitution Hill. I don't know if you class that form or not, where she's been whooped twice, but she won a mare's hurdle at Doncaster, which I thought she was quite impressive in by 6.5 lengths. So there would be my 2. I think I think at the minute it looks like Marie's Rock's going to come here, but she would be my choice.
Sorry to take over hosting duties, Alex, but can I just ask why you think Epatante will reverse the form with Honeysuckle when she's equally whooped her every time they've raced?
I think it would be the trip.
Okay.
I know Honeysuckle and the previous runs and previous preps where she's won the champion hurdle, has won at 2 mile 4.
Yeah.
I think Epatante will probably stay a bit better than Honeysuckle, personally.
Yeah.
I think it would literally be down to that.
For what it's worth, I'm on Epatante as well. Similar reasons to Ian. I think she will improve for this step up in trip from what she's been running at before. A lot of people are saying that she didn't stay the 2.5 miles at Punchestown last year, but I think what you got to remember is she ran second to Honeysuckle at the festival. She's only like 3 lengths behind. She then won at Aintree, and then she went to Punchestown. So
yeah, crazy campaigning.
Yeah, I mean, she had a lot of races, and the fact that she got within as close as she did at Punchestown, I think was a credit to her, really. And obviously, she's run twice behind Constitution Hill before absolutely demolishing the field next time. So, yeah, she's my selection. Matty's also with Marie's Rock. He's a big fan. I think he backed her last year, didn't he, for the mares? And he always backs Marie's Rock. It's one of his favourites. Niamh, what do you think?
I think that Lauren has been reading my notes because I'm exactly the same. I've literally written down I'll be cheering on Honeysuckle, 100%. But I'll be backing Marie's Rock because I just think that I have said it time and time again. Lauren's probably sick of hearing it now that Marie's Rock should be coming here, and I don't think the stayers should be considered for her. Like, I have no doubt she'll stay, but I just think this is her trip.
Hasn't done it, so we don't know.
Exactly. And you can't be, the stayers isn't the kind of race that you can go into without, with doubts about the ability to stay. You need those 3 milers to go there with. And with Marie's Rock, I just think the way she won on New Year's Day, beating one of my favorite horses in training, Daffel Drasher. He's a really, he's a good yardstick, but it was the fact that she was fresh off her break. She wasn't exactly favoured in the market, and yet she still won easily. And I think if she comes here, she wins. If she goes to the stayers, she probably finishes in the places, but she doesn't win. She's got to come here. But this is a really, really good race. I mean, we've not even mentioned La Benvoy. We've not mentioned Theatre Glory, 2 of the young pretenders who are open to so much improvement. I was really taken with Theatre Glory at Warwick. She's taken the Marie's Rock route this season, done pretty much the exact same thing that she did last year, albeit not quite as successfully. But for me, I think Theatre Glory, you're chancing that some of the market leaders are going to falter, but I think at 12-1 she might be a bit of each way value personally. But look, like Lauren says, if Honeysuckle is jumping the last upside Marie's Rock, there's only one horse that I'm going to be cheering for.
It will certainly bring the roof off, as a lot of people have said, if she does win.
I've heard that Rachel will retire with her if they win.
Wow!
Oh, wow!
Okay.
I don't know how true that is. It's come from a yard, but that apparently she would have done the same if she would have won the Irish Champion Hurdle. But
now I hope she doesn't win.
I know, because then who rides A Plus Tard and all of those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Johnny, round it up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like the others have discussed, it is a really tricky race, I think. Any of the top 5, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them won. But what I do agree on is the Marie's Rock thing, where I think she's got a hell of a lot more chance winning this than the stayers, definitely. I just couldn't see her winning the stayers, but this, I think she's got a great chance. But they do Nikki seems to be the one who's pushing her towards the stayers, I think, isn't it? So we'll see. I mean, I've topped up on it today, not running no bet, Alex, like you did on Coral. But I think if she's in it, she'll win. But if I think she's the only one who's sort of ran to roughly the same RPR as what Honeysuckle's done. So you've got to see them two sort of, being up there, haven't you, fighting it out. But of the others, like Niamh just touched on that, I think Love Envoi as well as Brandy Love are the two that are most open to improvement. They are the young pretenders, and I can see one of them at least getting a place. So I was just going to, for like easiness really, I was going to side with Love Envoi for each way purposes. I think she's about 7-1 at the minute. I mean, I've followed her all season. I do think she's quite a tough horse. If the rain does arrive, then she'll be right up there. She'll really enjoy that stiff test. So yeah, I think she'll have a great chance if it does rain. Yeah,
I absolutely love Envoi. I mean, you guys know because we discussed it last year. But me and Matt. Oh, did Matt? Maybe Matty didn't have her for the Mares Novice actually.
Yeah, it's me. It was who put. Yeah.
It was yeah. And I think the way that she won that race, she was keen at the start and she got to the front probably too soon, and she still held them off and galloped up that hill. Some people I do think she is ground dependent. She didn't run on good to soft at Warwick, and I think that's quite telling. Maybe because it's a prep run, but you don't know. But before Honeysuckle came into the market and crowded things, I was back in Marie's Rock and Love Envoi. I've got loads of bets with her in. I think she's really, really good. And I think the rain brings her right into contention, not just for places to win the whole thing. I think she's really, really good.
She's a very tough mare, isn't she? And that's what you need in this, especially when it's going to be a proper battle and could be a slog. So
yeah.
Brilliant.
Exciting.
Thank you very much. We'll move on then to the Boodles, which should still be called the Fred Winter. It's a much better name. We'll move on to the Fred Winter. Tell you what, why don't you kick us off, Niamh? Who'd you like in the Fred Winter?
See, I've got a really confident selection for this one, which I never thought I would have for the Boodles. But looking through it today, I really like Sir Alan. He is 2 out of 3 over hurdles. He's only had 3 runs, which he needs to qualify. He'll like the soft ground. Look at his form. He finished, the only time he's been beaten over hurdles was behind Blood Destiny. He's finished second behind that horse. Of course, we know he's going to the Triumph on Friday. He's probably going to be the favourite. He's a very good horse. Sir Alan finished behind him, easily beaten, but equally he didn't disgrace himself that day. The race he won at Naas last time. Now, this is the really, really, this is the thing that really drew me to him. The last 4 years, 3 winners of that race are Brazil, Aramax, and Band of Outlaws. And all 3 of those horses went on to follow up in this race. Now, you can never fully use that as, this is why, that it's never a certainty. If a horse wins a certain race, they're definitely going to go on and win the second one. But I do think that is a massive pointer to this horse and this race. And I've just seen as well, Danny Mullins has booked to ride. I think that's positive too. I just think all the signs are pointing towards Sir Alan for me. And I think, he for me would be one of my strongest selections on the day, actually.
Excellent. Johnny, how about you? I think there's one that you're very keen on, isn't there, as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty keen on this one as well. Obviously put it up in one of the Ante-Post videos again, and that's Common Practice for Joseph and JP. He's had plenty of runs this season, which I quite like, so he's quite sort of hardened to racing. He was entered in a handicap last time, which I think they were trying to give him a bit of a sighter there, but unfortunately unseated early on in the race through no fault of his own. I think something came down in front of him and the horse clipped the one that went down and jockey came off. The form line I do like on him, although these form lines are a little bit sketchy in the Boodles because a lot of these horses are quite obviously not putting it all in, are they, in some of these earlier races? They're trying to get a mark for this particular race. But if you take Takao now, he's 4-1 favourite. he actually finished 10 lengths behind Lossiemouth, giving £7. When Common Practice came up against Lossie, he gave £7 again and finished 8 3/4 lengths. And he's like over twice the price. I just think this has been his target all season, and it'll be no surprise if one of JP's other ones wins it, will it? The one with the red cap, and it's always one of the others, isn't it? Rather than the favourite. But I really like him. I think he's got a great chance. Of the others, I do quite like Samuel Spade as well. I think he looks quite well handicapped, and he's got some good form lines as well. But yeah, they're the two I'd go with. But for this, I'll Common Practice all the way for me.
Okay, and Matty's on that one as well with you. You both put him up Ante-Post, didn't you, in one of our videos? So,
and it's very rare me and Matty agree, and normally when we do, the stars align. So
no, you're normally both wrong. Ian, who wins this one?
Mine's pretty boring, but I like Takao. Like Johnny just said, a lot of the horses, especially the JP ones, are all interlinked with Lossiemouth and Gala Marceau and Blood Destiny. But I like, if you want to call it kind of form, with Lossiemouth, Takao was 10 lengths, and Comfort Zone as well, was 10 lengths behind Comfort Zone in the maiden hurdle at Navan. I think Jazzy Matty was second and went on to win the following time out at Fairyhouse in December, but has not done so much since. Comfort Zone then went on to win twice after being beaten by Lossiemouth, one at Cheltenham, which would beat the script writer. Takao won at Leopardstown just after Christmas, and then was third again behind Lossiemouth and Gala Marceau at the Dublin Racing Festival. It looked to me that Mark Walsh, after jumping the last, just seemed to ease off. So currently carrying 11 stone 5. Niamh said it's not quite the similar sort of profile to Brazil, but you can see that sort of stamped sort of thing. But yeah, so Takao would be my pick. And I do like Johnny's Common Practice. I can see that sort of angle as well. 12 to 1's a good each way price.
Excellent, thank you. And Lauren, how about you? Who's your selection?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating race. It's one that I haven't really studied too hard just yet. And over the weekend, I'll definitely spend time going back and re-watching a lot of races for this. I think actually seeing things with your own eyes rather than just like reading form or whatever is a real key for this. I really like Sir Alan too. I think his form is really solid. Again, I would like to go back and remind myself of those runs. He's the ground thing is potentially quite positive for him, and I think the jockey booking is a real positive as well. I do like Takao, and I do think he's quite solid, but I think it's a really deep race, and it is often one that you could find a 20 to 1 or however many, whatever colour cap he's wearing for JP could just come out of nowhere. So it's definitely one that I want to study much more deeply, but just going off the ones that I do know well and the races that I have seen, I do really like Sir Alan and Takao, but I'd also like to look again at Perseus Way. I think it's quite, and there's no science to it at all, but it seems quite common that you get a horse who wins and then there's a 1 and then there's another number, and then it goes back to a 1 and another number, and he's following that sort of pattern. 2 1 3 1 2. Could his next one be the 1? I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility. He was a length and a quarter behind Nusrat last time at Kempton, who I think is a really good horse. It didn't finish too far behind Comfort Zone at Chepstow, and again I think he's a really, really good horse, and obviously is going for the triumph rather than this. And the second to scriptwriter at Cheltenham is really key because it's course form, and when you get young horses like this, I do think that's really important. So I'm probably gonna, if I'm pinned to one selection, I'm actually probably gonna go for Perseus Way. I think for all of those reasons.
John likes Perseus Way as well. Ian likes him, but he thinks he's called Peresus Way. So
Yeah, I mean, he would have won last time, Lauren, I think, but he fluffed the last two, didn't he?
Yeah.
Made a right haul it to the last two, and it just knocked the stuffing out of him. But I'll probably back him each way on the day as well when there's extra places, no doubt.
I'm going to side with an absolute lunatic that could be very good, could be very bad. His price has gone in and out like a yo-yo. Who really knows if he's any good? He could be brilliant. He could be bad. I'm going to go with Jazzy Matty. And some of his starts, he's looked like he could be brilliant. I mean, he split Comfort Zone and Takao. I think it was on his first start in the UK. He was second that day, and then he's also had some pretty poor runs.
Yeah.
But a few better judges than me have said that he looked like he was slightly overweight, I guess, was the way they described it when he raced behind Sir Alan. He's actually £5 better off than that race from that race. And he was only beaten 4 lengths. So, I mean, at 20 to 1, I think he is best price at the moment. I'm going to take a chance that he's a lot better than he's shown. Okay. We'll move on then to the final race, which is the National Hunt Chase, the not quite 4 miler. And I think I'm going to be getting some stick from the guys either side of me because I think they both love Gaillard de Mainel. So, Ian, go on, give it your worst.
No, I know you and Matty just can't have him, but I'll try and make my case. I know his record over Chase, I think he's won once or he's quite poor, but I still
great way to start.
Yeah, I know.
He's doing my job for me.
Class horse of the race. Hear me out. So he's been running over trips this season, far too short. So he was second to Mighty Potter at Ferry House beginning of December, 2 mile 4. One at the end of December at Leopardstown at 3 mile, beating Churchstone Warrior, who of course has come out and won again by 7.5 lengths. Just bear that in mind, Alex, 7.5 lengths. And then last season, he was third in the Brown Advisory behind Lompress and the Hoy Signor. I think that again is third. Yes, I know. It's quite a good form, and was third in the Irish National, 3 mile 6. Made a mistake 2 out, which cost him a race. But I just think he's been in better class races. And a lot of these others in the race, and he just wins for me.
Go on, Johnny, back him up.
Yeah, well, there's not much more to add, really. So let's face it, he's just better than the others in the race, like £10 better than them all. I know we got this race badly wrong last year with Run Wild Fred, but I just don't see a Statler in this at all this year. I mean, I thought he was in the wrong race last year. Yeah, he won this, but he just, we had the third in the Irish Grand National carrying a big weight last year. His form over 3 miles is like really good if you look at, and that's what this is. He's just going to win, isn't he? He's like,
yeah.
I know it's presumptuous, but he's my nap of like day one, like without a doubt. I just think he's going to win. So yeah, don't really need to add much. We've been discussing this for weeks,
months.
Neve, are you going to stick Gaillard de Mainel as well, or are you going to talk some sense?
You should know by now, I don't talk sense. I'm going with Gaillard de Mainel as well. I would say, again, I wasn't a believer, and I did think, like, why is this horse so short? But looking at the race, like the guys say, he's just a class above these. Like, you'd be thought mad to say that any of these could probably finish third in a Irish Grand National, and likewise that any of these could win a Grade 1, which of course he has. He's a second season novice, and those second season novices have a good record in this race. Galvin did it. There's another one a few years ago. I can't remember the name now off the top of my head, but and also it does in recent years, since this race has been stepped down in trip, it does take a better horse to win it. And Gaillard de Mainel, he's a cut above the rest of these. Although, having said that, now I'm going to go, this isn't a tip, okay? But I was looking through them and trying to find a different angle. And the one I was really, actually drawn to, and people are probably going to think I'm mad, but it was Cool Valor for the Chris Gordon team.
I was going to say the same.
Yeah, he is going to have to up his game here. There's no doubt. But he is on a roll. He's unbeaten over fences. if any horse is going to love this trip, it will be this one. The Chris Gordon team can do no wrong at the moment. Their strike rate for 2023 so far is 28%, which is incredible. I follow them on Facebook, and it feels like every day there's a new winners post coming through. It's just crazy. But look, he's been running in Class 4 company. He's going to have to step up to Grade 2 level. He's going to have to bring his A game. But he's unbeaten over fences. He's clearly on a roll. And if you look at his wins, he's won by a combined 44 3/4 lengths in all of his starts over fences. I did the maths. He's effective on soft ground. He's going to stay. Look, you never know how these sorts of races are going to turn out. And there's probably going to be worse, however big his odds are at the moment. I saw 50 to 1. There's going to be worse bets at those price this week. 80. All right, then. It is a tip.
On Unibet at 100 to 1. So you've convinced me.
Oh, yeah, you sold me, Niamh, on that. Wow.
Thank you.
Can't knock 100 to 1 shot.
I do talk a good game. But yeah, look, he's a big price for a reason, but there's definitely worse shots out there. And I think in this race, I'm gonna have a little go, I think.
Worth a go. Lauren, are you gonna side with Gardemino?
Yeah, I've got the badge as well to prove it. This is the Ante-Post badge, not the Ramillies badge. Yeah, I do. For all of the reasons that everybody's already said, I just think he is the best horse in it. When you've got form, take the distance out of it, but when you've got form behind Lompress, Galopin, Mighty Potter, that's none of these horses are going to have form like that. I think he's 6 to 5, and it's potentially a bit boring to tip up a 6 to 5 shot, but the aim of the game is to find winners, and he just looks like the most likely winner, and I think that's kind of that. When you are looking through races like this, though, and you need to know what you need to be wary of the competition. Even if you're really sweet on one, you need to know what else is going to be against it. And just flicking down the list, Cool Valor, you have to look into and think, God, that there's a lot of ones there. What is that all about? And I think Niamh's summed him up really well. He's obviously going to have to step up a huge amount, but why not give it a go? And if he is he's clearly going to stay, and he clearly likes soft and heavy ground. So 80 to 1, at face value seems pretty huge, but I doubt very much that he's going to win the race.
Well, I guess I'm the lone person that's going to go against Gardemino.
Boo!
I know, I'm terrible. I mean, for me, there's just too much to dislike for him to be as short as he is. He's 1 out of 8 over fences. His best RPR of the season was over the shortest trip. I don't think he stayed the full trip in the Irish National personally. And yeah, I'm happy to oppose him. I'm going to go with Churchstone Warrior. I know that Gardemino beat him before, but I think he's a horse on the up. Rating improving every race. I think he'll appreciate the step up and trip, and I'm happy to take one on each way against Gardemino. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think he is the key. Although he's 5th in the betting, I think he probably is the key competitor. You feel, but. Don't know. Do we see him finishing in the same positions that Gardemino has in his races? It's to be seen on Tuesday, I guess.
But then he's not racing in his race. He's racing against Gardemino, so it's not that you're putting him in the races that Gardemino has. I just think that he's just going to be second, basically, Gardemino, and it's just trying to work out who's going to win. And he's the one that I've sided with. So, yeah.
Matty
sorry
picked
for not
Gail
making
Menil as well, didn't he?
I hate him.
Matty picked Gail Menil as well on his notes.
No. Matty was with me.
He did.
Matty's not a fan as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've just had 250 each way at 80 to 1. So thank you, Niamh.
Oh gosh.
So that then closes off day 1 of the festival. Thanks to Niamh and for Lauren for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you both on the channel. Lauren been on before, but Niamh first time. Sorry?
Naps.
Oh yeah, naps. Go on then, Johnny. What's your nap of the day?
Gail Menil.
Lauren?
Next best common practice.
Oh God, Ian,
I'll go with Takao.
Takao, Neve.
I'm gonna nap. Oh, you put me on the spot here. Oh, let's go for Sir Alan. Yeah, Sir Alan.
And Lauren, was yours Gardemain Hill? You showed the badge.
No, that was just for fun. I don't think I'm going to go ahead to my Neil. But it's for Steak Man as well. I didn't bring that one out.
Okay,
earlier,
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
give us another day.
My nap, tears would be my nap after either the Cheltenham, either the champion hurdle or
Tears
the
of joy or tears of sadness after the mare's hurdle.
hopefully tears of joy. That feels awful because really my betting wise, my nap is Marie's Rock, but that's obviously against Honey. No, yeah,
You
Marie's Rock.
can't.
I'm going to go with John Bond. That's my nap for the day. I think he's going to produce a big performance. Okay, yeah. So thanks again to Niamh and to Lauren for joining us.
Thanks,
please make
Dave.
sure you go and follow
Thank
their
you.
socials. They're on the screen, as you can see. Day 2 will be coming up next as well. We're going to be joined by Harry from the Only Fools Love Horse Racing podcast, and also Mark, Mr. Cheltenham Chat. Keep your eyes peeled. Best of luck for the festival, and thanks all for joining.
Keep an eye out for Lauren with the orange mic.
Thanks all.
Guys.